What's up, everybody? Chicago Goonie here, bringing another Arsenal talk. This is part four of this series. This is the last one, I promise. Of course, I haven't uploaded in such a long time, and now I have like four straight uploads. Probably do something on the Watford game, hopefully, as well. But this is the positives to kind of be a little optimistic, you know, bring out a little bit of the homer in me, bring out the Arsenal fan in me, to wanting to see the players do well and such. One thing I wanted to add to my last part three about the fans, it is a negative, but um, there was a picture posted, of course, on Wednesday night of Champions League. It was posted on Reddit. It was posted on all over Twitter, and he said, there was a picture of Cesc Fabregas getting kicked in the chest by a PSG player, and it was hashtag the best part of Champions League night. Sometimes, I mean, come on, a player getting injured, whether he's a former player, whether regardless of how he left the club, like I said in my other parts, I hate that of how those guys left. I still have a little bit of a hatred to them for them, but from getting joy out of a player getting hurt, a player getting kicked in the chest like that, it's kind of ridiculous. It's time to move on. It's time to act more of an adult than a little kid. If you want to see anybody get injured, that's, you have more personal issues within yourself, and you need to really look at yourself in the mirror and think about what is fucking wrong with you. And it was just kind of ridiculous to see that, and to see Arsenal fans front and center, celebrating it. And it's like, come on. It's time to move on. Think about the players that we currently have. Leave RVP and Cesc Fabregas and Sammy Nat. Leave them in the rear view window or mirror, because I mean it's just leave it. Just leave it. There's no point in continuing on because you look like a fucking idiot by doing so. But to get into the positives, there are several positives you can take to the end of the season, hopefully. Um, Again, this is kind of like the homer in me. This is, some of them are valid. Some of them, might happen. But just to shine a little light on the Arsenal and maybe be a little bit happy about it. Maybe, get some type of good feeling going on instead of being negative, negative, negative as how it is now. The first positive is Mesut Ozil potentially breaking Thierry Henry's assist record. He needs two to tie, three to break the record. He is currently on 18 assists in the Premier League. Again, he only needs three more to break it. He has 9 games to do it. I really believe he will be doing it. Obviously, I think he will. 9 games shouldn't be a problem. Obviously, if you listen to my part two about the players, and I talked about the big opportunities, the big chances, he should have already broken it by now. He should have maybe a minimum of 25 assists by now. He would have literally shattered the record, to the point that it would be very difficult for another player to really, it would take another special player to come around to even break that record or to even come close. That's a difficult record to break. Cesc Fabregas, speaking of him again, he had a chance to break it last season, and like Cesc Fabregas always does, his legs fall off. Chelsea changed their tactics in the second half of the season. He wasn't able to break it, so it's obviously uh, a tough record to break, and it would be great. It would be another. It would be something to hang our hat on. It's another thing to celebrate another Arsenal player breaking a record, holding a record, and I think he's going to do it. He's been fucking amazing this year. He really has. Uh, Most of the games, yeah, there's been a couple games where, you know, he just didn't have it. but throughout most of the season, he's been our best player. Next to him and Czech, but of course, Czech is limited to what he can do. But Ozil is all over the pitch. He's scored a few goals this season, but at the same time, that assist record would be great. It's held by an Arsenal player. It would be great if it was broken by another Arsenal player, someone in the future. And to talk about Mesut Ozil a little bit here. I hope he stays. I really hope he does. I hope, this is my theory um, about Ozil. I think he's the type of player or the type of person to where his happiness comes before glory, I guess you can say, or of winning, say, Champions League if that's super important to him. If that's super important to him, if it's super important for him to win the league, chances are he might be heading out this summer. And if course that happens, it's going to be a fucking mutiny amongst Arsenal supporters the entire summer, and it's going to be difficult to see Arsene Wenger even keep his job after that, because the supporters will put so much pressure on the club to make a change if that happens, because we really can't blame Ozil for leaving if he does. But if he does, it's going to be hell to pay. But I do believe that he is the type of player. He had the chance after his first season here to leave and go to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich made an inquiry about him. They wanted to buy him, and he said it himself, no. He came out right away and said, no, I do not want to go there. Maybe he has a little personal hatred towards Bayern Munich. Obviously he came up with like Schalke and stuff like that. He was never part of the Bayern Munich core or their academy. Maybe he has a little bit of a hatred. Even when we beat Dortmund in his first season at Dortmund, the only English club to do that. The way he celebrated when Aaron Ramsey's goal went in. Uh, he has a little chip on his shoulder, I think, of German clubs. I think that he's one of those Germans that stepped outside of Germany and succeeded, to where sometimes you don't see that many times of English players. You don't see that many times of good, great, even uh, domestic players leaving their country to go play somewhere else. And Ozil has done that, and he's proven it everywhere he's gone. In Real Madrid, here at Arsenal, that he remains a great player, one of the best number 10s in the world. And I think his happiness comes before. He's always expressed that he loves London. He loves living in London. He loves it here at Arsenal. He always says he doesn't care what the media says. He cares about what the fans think of him. That's how he judges, his performances, of how, if he loves a place or not. That's where he takes his judgment, is through the fans. And of course, it took, an entire season, maybe a season and a half, for most, some Arsenal fans to finally realize of how great this player is and how fun he is to watch, and just a pure enjoyment of watching uh, his talent on the pitch. And we love him. We want him to stay. Obviously, we want him to stay for a long time and continue on here, because too, unlike at Real Madrid, yeah, he was one of the main players there, but he wasn't the man. Here, he is the man. He is, he just started giving interviews in English this season, but at the same time, that's him trying. That's him, trying to learn the language, and taking himself out of his reservation, taking himself out of his comfort zone, and doing stuff like that. And he realizes here he's the man. He's kind of like the poster boy of Arsenal Football Club, along with maybe Alexis Sanchez, um, which is sometimes odd for certain clubs, even the big clubs. You look at like Manchester United or Liverpool, it was always an English player. It was always an English player that was front and center. To where here at Arsenal, it's not that. kind of never really was that, especially during the Arsene Wenger era. It was Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry. Now it's Mesut Ozil, and I think that's one of the reasons why he might stay here beyond the season. Yes, we're winning FA Cups. We have a chance to win another FA Cup to do a three-peat, and that might just be enough to keep him here. And of course, like I said, I think his happiness supersedes anything else. And if a player is happy somewhere and he enjoys his time, he's still enjoying his football. He gets so much love from the fans. That can trump anything else. And I hope that's true. I really do. But seeing him break the record and hold the record in the Premier League for most assists in the season, that would be great. And I really hope he does it. That'll just be, like I said, it'll we can hang our hat on something else and be proud of something. Um, and of course, another player is Alexis Sanchez. Again, um, you know, Alexis Sanchez is the type of player where there is no such thing as giving up. He's just a warrior out there. Every second that he's out there, he's always busting his ass. He's always tracking back, going after, trying to get the ball back, even when he does give it up. And, there is no give up with Alexis Sanchez. So, you know, if we falter and not win the league this year, um, I still think he might stay and just be, I'm not going to give up on here. I came here for a reason. I came here to elevate this club. Again, same thing with Ozil. At Barcelona, he was just another player there. To some of the fans, it was always, Messi, then it was Neymar, now it's Suarez, Iniesta, Xavi, uh, Busquets, Piqué. All those guys were in front of him. All those guys got the praise before him. Now here at Arsenal, he's getting all the praise. Along with Ozil and him, they're getting all the praise. And players have egos, regardless of their background, how they came up, whether they're, Alexis Sanchez was poverty stricken, you know, doing, stuff on the street just to get money so he can eat and stuff like that. And regardless of that, they still have an ego to want to like hold up a legacy. They still have that ego that they want to be the man. They want to be an important part to where they want to be recognized for everything that they do on the pitch. And I think he has that mentality, that kind of attitude, that kind of great attitude that he just doesn't want to give up. So hopefully, this summer, he'll still realize that. He'll still have that mentality of saying, I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up here just yet and stay with the club. Hopefully he does have that. Um, Going into a little being overly optimistic is potentially still being able to win the league. Yes, we are 8 points back. We only have 9 games left. Um, Again, this is stealing a tweet from about a week ago. Of course, things were a little bit different a week ago. We still had an opportunity to get 3 points from Tottenham, which we didn't do. Of course, with the 9 games left, we cannot drop a single point. We have to win every single game. Every all 9 games, we have to win 3 points. Anything less than that, it's over. We can't drop a single point. Um, Leicester still has a few games where they can drop points. Tottenham still has a few games out there that they can drop points. It's been a crazy season. This has been one of the craziest season. It's almost matching up a little bit with the 13-14 season where Man City was up and down. We were up, 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 and then we just fell apart. Liverpool, same thing, up and down, up and down. Chelsea even had a slight chance until they dedicated, uh, all their energy towards Champions League because they made the semifinal that season. They eventually lost to Atletico Madrid, uh, but they had a slight chance still to win the league. So I mean, it was still a crazy league that year. But this is obviously a lot crazier with Leicester being at the top of the table, with Spurs being second, Chelsea being so far down bottom. Man City again, up and down, up and down. Uh, Manchester United flopping. Liverpool still doing their thing. So it's a crazy season. Bring you back again. This is a tweet I basically kind of stole, and I felt it was very interesting. Back into the 97-98 season, I believe Arsenal was something around like 8 to 10 points down with 10 games to go, and they won all 10 games to beat Man United, and their final point total was 79 points. Now we have currently 52 points. If we win all 9 games, that's 27 points. Do the math, it's 79 points. Does history repeat itself? Let's hope to God it does. And if it does, Leicester drop points. We win every single game. Of course, we have a couple tough fixtures still on the rot. 3 of them actually. Everton at their place, West Ham at their place, and Man City at their place. Still 3 tough games, but we have to win them. We have to have that mentality. We have to just go out there and play our ass off because there's not many games left. 9 games in the Premier League. I said in my last Arsenal talk that there's potentially 4 more games left in the FA Cup. I said 4 because of course, I don't know if it's true, if it's still quarterfinals, if they still do a replay in the quarterfinals, or if it goes down to extra time and they do penalties by the time. Because obviously, if they go to Wembley, there is going to be penalties. We know that for a fact because we had to beat Wigan in penalties in the 13-14 to win the FA Cup in the 14. So I'm not exactly sure if it goes to penalties in the quarterfinal or if they do another replay. So that's why I said 4, or if I wasn't sure. If it's not, it's just 3, and then we have 1 Champions League game. So there's only between 13 and 14 games left in the season. That's not many games. Of course, we're going to have a game in hand already. We'll probably have another game in hand as well if we make it to the semifinal of the FA Cup. If we win this game against Watford. So, there's going to be games in hand. We're going to be able to watch what Leicester or what Leicester City does. We're going to see from afar what even Tottenham does. There's going to be opportunities there where we can set ourselves up. But again, we need to win every single fucking game. We draw 1 game, we're done. That's it. The dream is over. No more, pulling your hair out, sitting at the edge of your couch or sitting at the pub, hoping and wishing they win the game, they get all 3 points. There'll be none of that. They draw 1 time, they lose 1 time, it's over. But there is a little bit of a history there. There is a little bit of, to be optimistic, to be a little life. Not much, but sometimes, even in this season, a little life can go a long way. So there's that. Of course, another positive is winning the FA Cup. Uh, it'll be 3 straight times. It'll be 3 straight seasons with silverware. Of course, obviously we had the long drought of 9 years, almost 9 years, and of course, winning a trophy every single year would be great. Obviously, um, I think to do this, obviously, to win the league, to even win the FA Cup, the players have to do it on their own. They haven't been getting help from the man sitting on his ass for 80 minutes a game, obviously. I think they know that. I think they realize that. They've had the only players meeting before the Hull City game. I think they know that it's all on them. They're the ones that has to go out and do it. They're the ones that have to lead themselves and do it. Because again, they're not going to get help from anywhere else. They're the ones that have to take responsibility, accountability, whatever you want to call it. 100% every single game. Um, Defend for your lives, attack for your lives, score as many goals as possible, play within themselves, play as a unit, which is something that we have not done. Last time we did that was Man City. That was back in November, at the Emirates. That was basically the last solid, great game that we played. during this season in this stretch of games, and that's a long time ago. We need to get back to that. Especially if you want to win the FA Cup. Chelsea's still involved in it. Man United's still involved in it, especially those two clubs. Maybe not so much Man United because they're still in Europa League. Well, at least for a short period of time because they got their ass kicked by Liverpool. That's kind of like their only chance to get back in Champions League possibly, because they're just not looking great at all. But if they get bounced from Europa, they know they're not going to go back to the Champions League. They're going to try to put all their eggs in one basket for the FA Cup. And of course, we saw what happened at Old Trafford. It can happen again. So we need to be mindful. We need not to look at a team sheet and say, "Oh, we'll just roll right over them." We just cannot look at a team sheet. We can't say, "Well, it's just Watford on Sunday." We have to look at it as every game is a cup final from this point forward, except for the Champions League. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the pipe dream of all pipe dreams, right there, to go to Barcelona and beat them and get 3 goals somehow. It's just not gonna happen. I'm not gonna even talk about that. But winning the FA Cup, getting that three-peat, of course, it'll give us more silverware. It'll give us some more of a winning mentality. Hopefully some of these players start getting that. Mesut Ozil already has it. Alexis Sanchez already has it. Czech already has it. But a lot of these players, even though we've been back-to-back champions, still don't have that. Still don't have that extra fight or that extra, determination going into the season, during the season. You just don't see enough of it. So maybe this will propel them to have that extra confidence, maybe going into next year, because we need to start winning more than just the FA Cup. Yes, the FA Cup is great, it's part of the treble, but at the same time, it's not as celebrated as it once was. A lot of clubs, they put out dog shit sides. They put out, even us this year. It's been more than the other years. 13, 14 season, we always put out a very strong side. Last year, a strong side again. This year, it's been still a decent side, still a decent enough side to win every game, but not the strongest. The last two, FA Cup games against Hull, we didn't play Mesut Ozil. I think Alexis Sanchez played in the first game at the Emirates for like a cup of coffee. But again, we weren't putting out all of our best players at the same time. Um, I hope that changes Saturday. I think Watford should be the priority. I think Everton the following weekend should be the priority. I don't think Barcelona should be the priority. I think we should just forget about that, focus on the league and focus on the FA Cup, instead of the Champions League. But winning it for a third time would be great. Obviously, have another parade, get the fans out there, start getting the fans maybe unified. Maybe if some players start coming out and say that the players only meeting helped, and it really, um, you know, got them unified. That's probably the most important part of this whole thing is getting that team unity back and playing as a unit. And as they progress, hopefully they beat Watford. Hopefully they beat Watford convincingly. Hopefully they put on a good show, because the fans deserve it, especially at the Emirates, because we have not been good at all at the Emirates this season. It's been, we've been better on the road than we have at the Emirates, and the fans deserve it. Even the fans who are sitting in front of their TV, waking up, or waking up early in the morning, or watching at what is it, like 3 a.m. or something like that in Australia. You know, you know, we all deserve it. We all deserve a great showing. We all deserve to see uh, the Arsenal, the real Arsenal that we all know and love. So hopefully they do that. And you know, a little optimistic, but the FA Cup is our best chance, obviously, rather than the league. A lot of things need to happen in the league for us to come out winners and to raise that trophy above our head on the very last day. But like I said, stranger things has happened, but I think the FA Cup is the you know, that's going to be potentially our only thing that we can win this year. And if it is, we need to go after it then. If we end up dropping a game, dropping a point, dropping points from here until the end of the season, then we need to then make that the priority because I just can't see West Ham or Man United to catch up to that Final Four spot. Just can't see it. Um, Going to something else, I know it's super early to talk about this, but it's something that came out, I think a couple of weeks ago. The summer transfer market, we have to be, um, we have to be one of the front runners in this. We have to really go after it this summer. We have to bring in more players, more difference makers. Um, I don't know if you follow La Liga a whole lot. What's been happening there, especially with Real Madrid. A couple weeks ago, maybe it was more than a couple weeks ago, Marca, the main paper in Spain, um, got a hold of a bunch of transfer documents from Real Madrid, whether they were leaked by a disgruntled Real Madrid employee. I don't know, but they got a hold of a bunch of transfer documents of what Real Madrid's plan is this summer. Now, it's already rumored that Robert Lewandowski is going to transfer to Real Madrid over the summer. That means Karim Benzema is out. At least I think so. His name, there was a bunch of names on this sheet talking about each name directly and what they plan to do with them. Karim Benzema's name was on there. He said basically transfer out. Uh, Whoever the highest bidder is, transfer out. Um, that might be good for us because obviously Arsene Wenger was trying to chase after him ever since he was with Lyon. He probably, I know he's getting a little bit older, but I think he has maybe at least 2 or 3 good years left in him. Um, it's definitely a striker that we could use. Definitely a world class striker that we could use. Uh, definitely better than Olivier Giroud. He has a lot more to his game than Olivier Giroud. He's not afraid to shoot the ball. I think he would do great things here at Arsenal. I talked about that, in my transfer videos back last summer. His name was on there. Jesse Rodriguez's name was on there of a potential loan move to potentially loan him out somewhere. Obviously it wouldn't be into Spain. I know Barcelona has sent over a few players over to the Portuguese league, so it's potential. Maybe Jesse Rodriguez on a loan move. You know, he's very pacey, very good on the ball, but again, not the greatest finisher. So, would you want a guy like that? Who knows? Morata's name, they say they want to buy him back from Juventus. Of course, with Robert Lewandowski, though, that would be the striking pair. It almost kind of seems like they might go to like a 4-4-2, by which all these names were on there. CR7's name was on there. He said if he wants to leave, that they will let him. Um, uh, um, who else's name was on there? No, my Sergio Ramos's name was on there. He would probably be potentially Man United bound, but again, Man United is not going to have Champions League next year. Chelsea won't have Champions League next year. Man City has a shitload of defenders. Uh, Sergio Ramos is better than Per. He would he might be a great addition possibly, but again, who would potentially buy him? How much would it cost? That's another thing. It seems like they're going to have a fire sale at Real Madrid. Looks like Perez is just freaking out and he just wants to, send everybody out. James Rodriguez's name is on there. Not exactly a pure number 10. I think he would fit more on the wing, but again, No one's going to pay an outrageous amount of money, especially what Real Madrid bought him for. It seems like an odd one, um, that they would send him out that quickly. Maybe it is just a thing that they just don't like what he's been doing. Maybe his work ethic sucks. I don't know. But his name was on there. Isco's name was another one on there. They want him out of the club as well. They will listen to any type of offers for him. It seems really odd that they're trying to get rid of all the Spanish players. David De Gea is supposed to go to Real Madrid, after this season. That's a Spanish player coming in, but all these Spanish players coming out. I don't know how the locals will feel about that. Of there's so many Spanish players leaving the club. Who knows? But that's a lot of names. Bale's name wasn't on there, so I don't think I think Perez wants to build around him. CR7 has maybe three good years left in him of really, real top tier football. Obviously he's not going to go back to Man United because they won't have Champions League, especially with him coming to the end of his career, or at least end of his top tier football career. You know, will he want to go back there? Maybe he will. Be Superman or something, get Man United back in contention and stuff like that. All the swan songs and our heroes back type of shit. But who else would buy him? Maybe PSG, but PSG is supposed to be in for possibly Hazard uh, this summer. There's a lot of rumors going around with that. Real Madrid might buy him. Who knows? Chelsea might be more than happy to sell him off after this disaster of a year again. I haven't rated that guy at all throughout his career. I think he's a fraud. For whatever reason, he gets talked about time and time again that he's a great player. It just doesn't make any sense to me. He's not a great player. He's a good player, but that's his plateau is just good. He scores more penalties than actual open goals. How is he a great player? Don't get it. Um, so he might be going there. Who knows? They might be putting Bale on one side, Hazard on the other side. Who knows? Who is? I forgot the other midfielder name that they signed. Um, anyway, but Real Madrid is definitely trying to have a fire sale at the end of the season. Bayern Munich might have another fire sale a little bit. Thinking about Carlo Ancelotti, that's why I don't think Mesut Ozil will move to Bayern Munich this summer because Carlo Ancelotti's going there. And who was the manager of Real Madrid when Ozil left? Carlo Ancelotti. Of course, Carlo Ancelotti came out a month or two after the transfer and he said, "Yes, I made a mistake." But will Ozil forgive him for that? I don't know. A lot of players they hold on to grudges against managers and they don't want to work with certain managers. They don't want to go through that again. That was one of the reasons why Ozil wanted to leave because Ancelotti wasn't putting him in the lineup. So that's good for us. That's another positive. But again, Carlo Ancelotti going into Bayern Munich, Pep Guardiola try to bring in a lot of his own players, a couple Spanish players. Who knows? Those players might be on the outs once Pep leaves. Maybe they'll go straight over to Man City, but who knows? So there might be a little bit of a sale there as well. There's going to be a lot of movement. I think there's going to be more movement than there was last summer. Last summer there wasn't a whole lot of movement. Of course, Romelu Lukaku's name is always flying around. I'm pretty sure that Chelsea won't buy him back. Who else can really buy him back in the top four? Arsenal could. He's going to cost at a premium though if he moves within the Premier League. I'm thinking about other clubs around the world of who would try to buy him, and not too many other clubs would make sense to me, or even want him to move there. But Arsenal makes sense, but he would probably cost anywhere from 45 to 50 million, especially with all the new money coming into the Premier League. So those transfer uh, money is going to just be elevated to a whole nother level too if you try to buy a player within the same league because they know that we have the money. Even La Liga is freaking out right now, I guess. according to a lot of reports coming out of Spain. They're freaking out because of all the new money coming into the Premier League that a lot of their players are going to say, screw this, I'm going over to England and I'm going to make a beautiful payday. They're really freaking out right now. Bundesliga is catching up to us. Not, they're using the same business model. They're starting to get their contracts are starting to raise and raise and raise, not up to the Premier League level, but they're getting there. They are probably, you know, I think they might be second as far as money goes for TV contracts. La Liga, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid, they basically kind of take all the money. I know they're trying to change that in Spain, and I know that's not going over well, obviously with Barcelona and Real Madrid, but they're trying to change their business over there in Spain. But I think this year, especially with the Euros, playing this summer. I think you'll see a lot of players talking to other players. Hey, you should come play for us. You should come over here. If you don't like where you're at now, check out Arsenal. It's pretty chill here. It's pretty cool here. The fan base is awesome. They will support you to the very end. At least most of us. um, but I think a lot of players will be moving after these Euros. I think last summer was kind of maybe like a World Cup year almost. The World Cup, the summer before the World Cup, a lot of players moved because a lot of players feared that they wouldn't be selected for their national team. Or to where this past summer it was a lot different, to where players didn't want to move because they felt they were in a good position that they could get selected by their national team for the Euros. So, but I think this summer you'll see a lot of movement, a lot of movement. Especially if Real Madrid is having a fire sale. Arsenal better be at their front door, knocking at the door, and picking up at least one or two of their players. Because any one of those players, I think, will be an upgrade on a lot of our positions. Karim Benzema would be an upgrade. I think Isco might be even a little bit more of an upgrade to like an Aaron Ramsey, unless Jack Wilshere can somehow stay healthy for the rest of his life. That would be nice. And if he could, then we don't need an Isco. Isco is kind of, to me, a Spanish version of Jack Wilshere, with more of a scoring output, maybe. But again, we should be knocking at their door. We should be the first ones at the door, asking, okay, what player is available? What can we get? And who can we get? And hopefully we do that. Hopefully we take a different approach this summer than last summer. Instead of hoarding the money, spending the money, hopefully, you know, uh, Arsene Wenger rolls out of bed one day and says, "You know what? I feel like spending 125 million this summer. Why not? Let's go." Hopefully someone knocks him over the head someday, somehow, and gets that guy to spend a ton of money so we can start being relevant in Champions League again and start being relevant in the Premier League and not just being a fourth place joke anymore. So those are some positives. Um, you know, if you got any other positives, anything I didn't think about, anything that you can take away from the season. Is there any other positives that you really can take away from the season? I know it's been a disaster for the last about 2 months, but the great thing, some of the worst thing, one of the worst attributes to have is hope, or one of the worst characteristics to have is hope or feelings, but sometimes it's one of the best. And that's what makes us Arsenal fans. That's what makes us sports fans of any sport. You always have that hope, and that's one of the better things about following a team or a sport or any of that is you know maybe pulling off that miracle. So be a little optimistic, maybe put a smile on your face. Be a little bit more positive. There might be more positives than we might think of this season. Obviously there's still a ton of problems that need to be fixed within the club, but hopefully some of these things can start patching each other, patching themselves through hard work, through the players, and for the players to prove to other players to come here at Arsenal and that we have something great going on. But that'll be it. Tell me what you think, and yeah, later.